Imagine this. What if one of the greatest minds in history, we're talking Leonardo da Vinci, designed a bridge so futuristic that everyone at the time just called it impossible? And then, 500 years later, we find out he was right all along. Well, that's exactly what happened, and this is the story of that lost wonder. So, let's just get right to the heart of it. Could this 500-year-old bridge, this impossible design from Leonardo, a plan that was basically laughed out of the room, could it have actually worked? Well, get this. In 2019, engineers at MIT proved that, yeah, it absolutely could have. A resounding yes. But, that answer just opens up a whole new can of worms. How on earth was this possible back then? And why did it take us 500 years to figure it out? The proof might be modern, but the story goes way, way back. All right, so let's peel back the layers on this 500-year-old secret. We've got to look at who was involved, the sheer ambition of the project, and a design so revolutionary it was almost lost to time completely.
So the final undeniable proof? It actually came from a master's thesis at MIT. Yeah, seriously. Back in 2019, some very smart people built a perfect scale model and put it through all kinds of intense tests. And we'll get to what they found, for sure. But to really get a grip on this, we need to rewind all the way to the beginning.
So let's set the scene. The year is 1502. We're at this incredible crossroads in history, where a single letter from a Renaissance genius to a powerful Ottoman sultan could have literally changed the skyline of one of the world's greatest cities. Okay, so our first player is a guy you might have heard of, Leonardo da Vinci. At this point, he's just fled Milan because of a French invasion. He's this famous artist and inventor, but he's kind of at a loose end, looking for a new patron, a new challenge, something big enough for his massive talent. And our other main character, Sultan Bayezid II. He's the powerful ruler of the Ottoman Empire, and he has this massive, ambitious dream. He wants to build a huge, monumental bridge across the Golden Horn to connect the two sides of his capital, Istanbul. So Leonardo hears about this, and he writes a letter to the Sultan. And this letter, which was totally lost until it was rediscovered in the Topkapi Palace archives in 1952, is just wow. It's a masterclass in self-confidence. He wasn't just offering to build a bridge. He was offering to build a legend, something that would dwarf anything the world had ever seen. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, share, and like our videos. The information in the video is compiled from open sources. Thank you. Okay, so we've got the historical setup. Now, let's get into the really juicy part, the engineering. What was it about Leonardo's design that was just so out there for its time? To really get why this was so mind-blowing, you have to see what bridges looked like back then. Typically, you'd have these bridges with lots of small, rounded arches on top of a bunch of thick stone piers. They worked, sure, but they were a nightmare for big ships. Now, look at what Leonardo drew. One single, graceful, flattened arch soaring over the entire waterway. No piers in the water, nothing like this had even been imagined, let alone proposed. And the size of this thing, the proposed span, was 280 meters. That's almost 1,000 feet. Just think about that for a second. Just to give you some perspective, that single arch would have been 10 times longer than any other bridge built at the time. 10 times! This wasn't just an improvement, it was a complete leap into the future of engineering. So how in the world was he planning to pull this off? Well, it all came down to a few key innovations. First, the shape. Instead of a normal round arch, he used a flattened, parabolic arch. Now, this shape is just brilliant because it takes all the weight and pushes it outwards into the supports at the ends. The whole thing holds itself up through pure compression. Basically, the stones are all squeezing together. It's incredibly stable. Second, it was tall enough for even the biggest sailing ships to just glide right under it, no problem. And third, and this is pure Leonardo genius, he designed these things called splayed abutments. Basically, the supports at each end would flare out, getting wider at the base. This not only handled the massive outward push from the arch, but, and this is critical, it would make the whole bridge earthquake-proof. He wasn't just designing a bridge, he was designing a monument meant to last forever. So you have this design hundreds of years ahead of its time, a total masterpiece, on paper, and yet it was never built. Why?
It's honestly one of the biggest what-ifs in all of engineering history.
So yeah, the big question. Why did the Sultan say no? Why pass up the chance to build what would have been, without a doubt, one of the wonders of the ancient world? Historians have been kicking this question around for a long time. And it seems to come down to three main theories. Theory number one, it was just too much, too ambitious. The Sultan and his own engineers probably looked at the plans and thought, there's no way, we just can't build this. Theory two is all about politics. The Sultan was dealing with a lot of drama. Threats to the empire, his own sons fighting over who would be next in line. Maybe a giant risky bridge project just wasn't a priority. And the third theory, good old-fashioned paperwork getting messed up.
Yeah, that third theory is kind of wild. It seems that when Leonardo's letter was filed away in the Ottoman archives, someone messed up. They credited the design to some guy named Riccardo of Genoa. So it's totally possible that a proposal from some random, unknown guy just got lost in the shuffle, filed away and forgotten, its genius completely overlooked.
And for almost 500 years, that was it. That was the end of the story. A forgotten letter, a lost sketch. But then, the 21st century happened, and Leonardo's incredible vision finally got the credit it deserved. I mean, look at this timeline. It's a heck of a journey. 1502, Leonardo sends the letter. It gets forgotten. Then radio silence for 450 years. In 1952, boom, it's rediscovered in the archives. Fast forward to 2001, and an artist in Norway actually builds a smaller version as a tribute. And then finally, in 2019, MIT comes in and proves the whole thing would have worked. And you can see that tribute right here. On the left, that's Leonardo's original sketch. And on the right, that's the real physical bridge in Norway. Now, it's a smaller pedestrian bridge, and it's built from wood, not stone, but the design, the geometry, the core principles, they are pure Leonardo, brought to life 500 years later. Which brings us full circle, back to that MIT study. See, their model wasn't just for looks. They put it through serious structural stress tests, and they proved, conclusively, that a stone bridge built to Leonardo's exact plans would have been perfectly stable. But even more amazing, they found that his flared support design was so brilliant, it could have even handled the earthquakes that are common in that part of the world. Just unbelievable. So there you have it, an incredible story of a genius finally being proven right, 5 centuries too late. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other brilliant ideas, how many other strokes of genius are just sitting in an archive somewhere, gathering dust, waiting for someone to rediscover them?